Hello, Jackal! In this video, I'll show you how to make this squiggly text effect in DaVinci Resolve. Now let's get digital. Now I don't know if the easy method is only available in the studio version, but I will also show you how to do it in the free version. Now what you'll want to do is grab some maybe media. You can also go to the effects, type in text, go to the toolbox, put the text on the timeline, go to the inspector tab, type something in that you want, change the font, maybe also add some stroke and change the color and make it outside only. You can also add some drop shadow. It won't be visible because the background is black, so I would have to put something behind it, so you can then see the shadow. Now once you have everything set up, what you want to do is type in noise, and you'll want to use noise distortion. I don't know if this is studio only or if it's also in the free version. Now as you can see, you can't put this onto the text itself, so you have to make a new compound clip and then you can put this on, but nothing is happening. So we go to the effect. You can change the type to X and Y, but the thing that you have to change is the seed rate. Now you have an animation, but it's not exactly animating every couple of frames. And to do that, you would want to use the stop motion effects. And while you can apply it to the clip, it's not actually doing anything. So in this case, what you have to do is remove the stop motion effect. Now what you can do is open this in the Fusion page, and as you can see, you do have the effect applied, so you can add the stop motion inside the Fusion page. Now this is the effect that you will get. Now it doesn't look the best as it does here, so to avoid this issue, I suggest you actually don't mix and match the edit page and the Fusion page. I suggest you just do it in the Fusion page. So I will use this clip, go into the Fusion page, I will use some text, we can apply the stop motion, and we need the noise distortion, but you don't find it here as you can see. You have to go to the effects, type in noise, and we'll have to go to the templates. Connect it and also type something in. As you can see, the text is not being animated. We have to adjust the seed rate, and then we'll simply connect this to the stop motion and adjust how many frames this has to hold. You can hold it for 1 second if you want. In this case, I think 25 frames. How many frames you have in a project for 1 second. You can go down here and see. In this case, I have it set to 30 frames. But I think this would be a little bit too slow. So about 1/3 of a second looks okay. Now while you're inside the Fusion page, you can also go to the text node, shading, enable the black shadow, which is number 3 element. This will give you the drop shadow effect. If you enable the second one, this will give you an outline. You can change the color. So let's go with outside only. And you can also specify the thickness. Now in the noise distortion, you can mess around with the settings to see what kind of results you can get. Now with this, the effect is basically done. Now as I said, I have no idea if these two nodes are studio only, so if you want to make the effect in the free version, you can also do that. you will need to use the fast noise, which you can also find down here. So fast noise, you will need a displace node. The fast noise will go in the front and the text will go in the back. We don't see any changes yet. So we have to go to the fast noise, adjust the seed rate, and in the displace, we'll adjust the refraction strength maybe. So that's one thing that we can do. We can also make other selections. Just play around with the settings to get something that you want. Now this is the easy part. The hard part is how to get the stop motion node. And this is where the jankiness comes in. So you have to somehow pause the effect for every couple of frames so it holds. Now if you type in speed, you will get time speed node. This does not actually do what you would want. You can set an offset or slow the time down, but this will just slow the time down. It will still be a smooth animation, just slow. Well, smooth-ish. So a time speed node is not what you want. Let's see, maybe a duplicate node. We do have some, let's see, time offset also in the duplicate node. We would want to hold this maybe, let's say, for 10 frames. Not exactly what we want. Maybe if we just have one copy. No, it's pretty much smooth. But if we do have two copies, well, it's still smooth. We just have a 10 frame offset. So also not what you want. The last option that I know of is the time stretcher node. So we can set the source time. I'll just unkeyframe this. And we have the sample spread. Now we don't want anything in between, so we have to select nearest. And now if you select source time, currently this is set to 0, so let's say frame 10, this will show frame 10 throughout the whole clip. So you can animate this manually on every couple of frames. So frame 10, you would keyframe this value. Then have to go to frame 19, keyframe the value, go to frame 20, and set this value to 20. Then go to frame 29, set the value to 20, go to frame 30, and set this value to 30. So if I play this, this is how it can look, but you have to do this for every 10 frames, which is not ideal, but this is how you can do it. Now the other option is to try to do this automatically. So let me reset the node, unkeyframe the value, nearest, and maybe we can do this automatically. So I can right click on the source, modify with, and shake is a good modifier. But the issue with it is that it's constantly moving and it's not holding the values. And it's also slow, so let me disable some options. Also let me go to the playback and decrease the timeline proxy resolution, so hopefully we'll get a smooth playback. As you can see, the source time is constantly moving and not exactly what we would want. Maybe let's just connect it like so we can have something in the timeline. I don't think this is actually moving in real time, so let's go to render cache smart and just see if this will render out. So while the effect does move, it doesn't move as you would want it to. At least I don't want it to move like this. So in the modifiers, what you can do is adjust the maximum. In this case, I think this one would just be frame 1. So it moves between 0 and 1, which is not a lot. So maybe if we set this to frame 800, as you can see, this will now go from 0 to frame 800 randomly. But once I do that, as you can see, now it moves really sporadically. So if this value is low, or at least not as big, maybe about 50 frames maximum from 0 to 50. Let's see how that looks like. No, still too smooth, maybe just 10 frames. I guess this could do the job, but it's still not the best. Now what I have also tried, let me remove the modifier, is to use an expression. What this piece of code does is, if the result that we got when we divide it by 10 is equal to 0, then y, this can be anything, I just named it y, then y is equal to time, which is the current frame. So at frame, in this case 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on, y would be equal to that frame. And we'll just return the value. Now, where have I used this? Well, you can use it in the settings. You can right click in the comments, expression, and paste this in. So I will simply copy this and paste it in. And you will now see some values. At least you should. So you see 10, 20, and you now see the issue. Because for some reason the value is jumping, and this is a pain in the butt in DaVinci Resolve, because it's even worse than a goldfish. At least the goldfish remembers for 3 seconds, and this can't remember for 1/3 of a second. So if we would use this value, and where would you use it? Well, this is basically the y value. So we could simply go to the source, expression, and put in y. And we do see this value. But it looks like this. It keeps jumping, but not as it should. So it should hold the value. So 320. Let's go to settings. Actually, it is 340. So even this is not being updated as it should be. And now I'll simply go frame by frame forward, and we'll see that, well, for some reason in 2 frames it jumps back 20 frames. And in 2 frames again it jumps up, jumps back down, jumps back up, and then we set it to a new value. So the only thing that is working is setting this to a new value, but otherwise it's not working as one would expect. So as it is, I just don't advise you use scripting in DaVinci Resolve if you want to use persistent variables, because you'll have a lot of issues. So instead, even though it's a pain in the butt to do, I advise that you just manually keyframe every frame that you want to animate or hold the frames.
Objection!
Now I do still have one more option that you can use, but it's not out of the box included in DaVinci Resolve. You'll have to install the Reactor library plugin, search for Time Machine Fuse, and once you install it, I don't have it installed yet, but if you go down, you will have this one, and in this case you would want this function, hold the frame. So let me install it. So I have the Time Machine plugin installed, and let's see. I just hope I don't need to restart it. So let's see if I now have the Time Machine. I do. So let's use Time Machine instead of the Time Stretcher node. Now I want to use the hold function. So hold, how many frames? Say 10 frames. Then see if this works as intended. Not exactly. Does it work now? doesn't look like it. So this is kind of like the time stretcher node. So with the time machine node, you can achieve the effect that you want, except it's not with the hold function, at least not the way that I know of, but you can use the remap option. In this case, I set the start target frame to 0, and the ending would be in this case 900. And then because I want this change to be applied on every 10 frames, you can simply divide the ending frame by 10. So in this case, it would go from 0 to 90. So this would basically hold the text for 10 frames, which you can see down here. And this does exactly what we want. And this does exactly what we want. And you can also use this in the free version of DaVinci Resolve. You can maybe get a better result if you use the skip option. And in this case, I will skip 10 frames. And this result looks even better than the one with the remap. I forgot to mention just one thing, and that's to spice the text up. What you can do is just after this point is add some glow. So shift space, glow. I've just added a soft glow node. It looks messy. First we'll go to a text, change the color of it, and then we can go to the soft glow node, adjust the threshold and the gain. And in this case, you would also need to adjust the shading of the outline to match the text, if that is what you wanted. And you can always go to the color scale in the soft glow and adjust the red, green, blue and alpha scale. And let's just add a glow node to see if we get a better result. Maybe. That's it for this video. If you found it helpful and would like to see more DaVinci Resolve content, subscribe to the channel. And you can also check out this game. It's on my itch.io page and it's completely free. I'm Simon, and until next time, Jackal, keep it digital.